It was first trial informally when Dr. Kiriac was allowed to use it after the terrible disaster of Chernobyl, which we all know was massive, the worst ever. Possibly Fukushima is pretty bad too.
I think Fukushima might be worse, but
Absolutely.
still, so much radiation went into
Correct.
the air.
And still, by the way, from Chernobyl, it's still spewing. It has never been covered perfectly. Anyway, so he was allowed to work with hundreds of particularly children and adults that were severely impacted, pretty much scheduled to die in local schools,
From the
or
radiation, Chernobyl
170,000 people eventually somewhat died as a result of Chernobyl, and the entire city was been moved away, and to this day that whole area is devastated. But anyway, he was able to trial this algae at the time with great success, and many people are alive today because of that experiment. Children were very successful because they were less damaged, if you wish, and while some men or adults, there were many success, and some not because they didn't have the discipline. They had terrible lifestyle issues or diet, and they kept smoking and going to the bar, so it didn't always work.
Well, let me understand. So there are people that went to the exposed areas where people were very sick by radiation.
Correct.
He gave the microalgae to them.
Correct.
And what was the result of giving the microalgae?
The way that he explains it,
Yeah.
and we see it in America because there's many people suffering from leukemia, many people Russian and Ukrainian and people that came from the region and their children that are living in America. And we work with many. But the way he describes it is that radiation is a vibration that ruins all down to your bone marrow from a frequency perspective. So when your bone marrow becomes infected, then your new blood cells are already weak, so you have leukemia or anemia. And then you have degenerative conditions of the liver because of having to detoxify the poisons in the body, as well as some of the strontium or whatever those minerals, terrible radioactive debris are. So you have declining health, and then eventually you lose the hair. We've all seen the pictures of children with their eyes out of the socket. So the way he describes it is that the reverse occurs. When you can bring super nutrition, quality nutrition, to the confines of the mitochondria, you restore that electrical energy. When 2,000 little battery pack in your cell, 5,000 in your heart cell starts to resonate, then that negative radioactive frequency cannot win. So there was regeneration, starting with bone marrow, and of course the new blood cell, the river of life, and regeneration of liver, pancreas, growing of hair, and restoration of life.
So this is really a miracle product because the radiation affects the cells on the smallest level, and by getting the nutrients into that mitochondria,
Correct.
then it nourishes the cells so it can throw off the radiation.
It becomes anti-radiation, antibacterial, antiviral, anti-tumorigenesis. And by the way, the miracle is not the product.
Oh, really?
It is the human cell. It's the human genius. That's why, well, we'll talk about it maybe. I called my book Awakening the Genius Within.
Awakening the Genius Within.